Harry was just a latecomer. Meghan Markle had a special relationship with Andrew before she met Harry. Prince Andrew got permission from King Charles to remarry Sarah Ferguson. This is the main content for today, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I don't know about you all, but I don't buy it for a second that Harry didn't know that Virginia Giuffre's lawyer was going to call Meghan Markle as a witness in her case against Prince Andrew. At the time, it was widely reported, and it seems impossible that Harry just could have overlooked that. When she was a teenager, Virginia Giuffre became associated with sex traffickers Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They were the ones who connected her to these very powerful men for sexual experiences, I guess we could say, and allegedly that included Prince Andrew. It hasn't been reported when and where exactly Meghan Markle saw Virginia and Andrew together, but it seems like even Meghan's potential questioning was more than enough to have Andrew immediately settle the case. People believe that this was because he wanted to spare his mother, the late queen, the humiliation of this scandal, involving not only one but two members of the royal family going to trial right before her platinum jubilee back in 2022. We can be sure that U.S. courts would be a lot less likely to let a member of the royal family lie under oath like the British courts did with Meghan Markle in the past, so Meghan Markle would have needed to tell the truth. And the facts don't seem that disputable, but Harry has never been described as very smart. He's certainly not an independent thinker, and now it seems like he is completely under control of Meghan. So either he knows about Meghan's past and he just doesn't care, or he has been forced to accept an alternate explanation from Meghan as to why exactly she was going to be called as a witness. I think you can take your pick. And I mean, maybe Harry thought that he could somehow overshadow his uncle by marrying Meghan, whereas I guess Andrew was happy to stick with just one roll in the hay with her. Or perhaps he suspects something happened, but he's too scared to ask. I mean, who knows? Meghan Markle is incredibly aggressive. Sure, she has been physically abusive towards Harry on more than one occasion. Reportedly, Harry and Meghan first met at the opening for Soho House Istanbul back in 2015, and they were introduced again in Toronto, again at Soho House in 2016. And it's thought that it was Marcus Anderson who introduced the two of them. He joined Soho House in 2003, and he really helped it to grow from a single venue. Now, Virginia Giuffre claimed that her contact with Prince Andrew was back in 2001, but she didn't name him until 2015. And then the civil suit was filed in 2021. The dates are pretty interesting if you think about it. But Marcus would have had to be there to make the introduction for the purpose of paying back Prince Charles. I mean, Harry, though, I don't think he has any idea how big of a mess he has gotten himself into. You know Meghan is going to find somebody else, and Harry, I don't think, can ever return. William is not going to allow that. And the rest of the royal family, of course, feels the same way after what Harry and Meghan did to Her late Majesty and also Prince Philip. Anyway, back to the lawsuit. It is a matter of record. Sex with a 17-year-old happened in New York City and London and in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The feds got involved, and the truth is, federal law covers 18 and younger if the woman is trafficked. And the case that Virginia Giuffre won, well, she proved that she had been trafficked. You've got to obey the laws of the country that you're in at the time. And at least 3 times it was in the U.S., and so Andrew should have been following U.S. law. The case would not be tried in England. It would be tried in the U.S. Whether fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on your perspective, the case never went to court. It wasn't tried. So a jury never got to hear all the relevant information about Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre. And as a result, Prince Andrew has not been able to clear his name. I mean, there is still this cloud of sex abuse hanging over him. And Prince Andrew, I think, did originally want his day in court so that he could prove himself innocent. And I think that he was going to fight back. So, as I understand it, some things that Prince Andrew had said publicly before the trial had already led people to believe that he wouldn't have made a very good witness. And so, I guess the late Queen was worried about the potential for Prince Andrew to incriminate himself under oath. But I also heard a suggestion that the late Queen wanted the case settled and out of the public's attention. And ultimately, that was the reason given by Prince Andrew for his agreement to settle. He wanted to give his mother the jubilee that she deserved. So, trafficking is actually the right term to use because of the fact that Virginia Giuffre was claiming to have been flown to meet with Prince Andrew at multiple venues. But I don't know that sex slave is actually what she was. I think that's the wrong term. She wasn't kidnapped, she wasn't tied up, she wasn't really forced necessarily. There was evidence that she was free to come and go as she wanted to, and she made some money off of it too. And I guess her parents never interfered either. And to tell the truth, I mean, Andrew was a perfect target for this kind of lawsuit because he's a member of the royal family, and the royal family cares so much about image. And also, I don't think Andrew was going to be very good at defending himself. Virginia Giuffre's lawyers would expect the royals to want to settle instead of put up with a long trial, and they were right. And I mean, honestly, we don't know what really happened. So, if some people are saying that in fact Andrew never met Meghan before she started dating Harry. Her education, her work, her dating history are a matter of record. 6 members of the royal family were named as potential witnesses, including Meghan Markle and Sarah Ferguson. So the lawyer gave his reasons. He said both women and other people were often in the US and they could easily be contacted. And the issue was also Andrew's reaction to being served with a lawsuit. And he was really struggling to avoid participating in the proceedings. So Andrew decided to settle the case to avoid having to give evidence in person. And he was not going to set foot in the US. We know that for sure. I think if he were to do that, the criminal investigative authorities would want to have a little word with him. He doesn't want that. And I'm guessing Meghan did a good job of convincing Harry that all the claims about her were lies and it was just based on racism, as always. She convinced him that she's so superior, that everybody's jealous of her, and that's why she gets so much negative attention. And then combined with her sexual prowess, nothing more was needed to convince Harry. In the initial days of their relationship, he believed everything she told him. Going back to the gruesome twosome Harry and Meghan, there are also plenty of rumors that Harry has gotten really violent with women who he was sleeping with. But I don't think that Harry is going to be pushing the envelope with Meghan because he knows she's going to put him in his place. Meghan is not going to let anybody have any control. She wears the pants in that relationship. So maybe Harry decided that it wasn't really worth it. He wasn't going to question her because he didn't want to get the pushback. It also seems like Harry's friends knew all about Meghan's past connections. Now, one of the reasons that Meghan would want to make sure and did make sure that Harry stopped being friends with them was this: she wanted to make sure that the negative things about her were going to be kept secret. When it comes to Meghan, the last thing she is some innocent victim. I mean, come on. Meghan Markle has done everything in her life that she's done because she wanted to. Harry was connected with Meghan thanks to her pimp at Soho House, Marcus Anderson. And Harry chose probably the worst wife imaginable. She is already ruining his life. Also been reported that recently Andrew asked King Charles if he can remarry Sarah Ferguson, and apparently Charles said yes. Naturally, this incident is raising some eyebrows and causing quite a stir. So, why do members of the royal family need permission from the monarch to get married? As adults, shouldn't they be able to marry whoever they want to? The law counts for them too, just like any other British citizen, right? Well, not quite. The people asking these questions, I think, don't fully understand that in the UK, the system is a constitutional monarchy. There is an incredibly close relationship between the royal family and the government. So the monarch is determined by law that the parliament created. And it's not really true that all members of the royal family have to get permission from the monarch to get married. But people who are close to being a potential monarch do have to seek permission, because, of course, there's a possibility that they could be in line to be the next monarch. I mean, let's remember what Meghan Markle said. She said that she and Harry are only a plane crash away from being next in line to the throne. Usually, people who are listed at number 6 or higher in the line of succession are expected to get the monarch's permission to get married. Whether Prince Andrew actually has asked to marry his ex wife is something we don't know for sure. These are just rumors. But they have been living together for a long time, even after they got divorced. So I'm not sure what has changed in their relationship to encourage Prince Andrew to ask for permission to remarry. Andrew first married Sarah, I'm pretty sure that he was under the rules that applied at the time because he was eligible to be heir if Prince Charles passed away. Now, of course, the monarch in the role of head of state sanctioned the marriage, which kept Prince Andrew's position in the line of succession secure. If the Queen had said no, then technically Prince Andrew could still have married Sarah Ferguson. But of course, there could have been some consequences. He could have been removed from the line of succession and also taken off royal duties. It's not all that different from Prince Charles wanting to marry Camilla. The thing is, the role of an active royal involves a lot of public approval. So important to remember that a lot has changed since then. Back then, the public and the senior royals held views that they probably don't hold today. Attitudes certainly change over time. In most families in Britain, when a son or daughter wants to marry their choice of life partner, they have to ask for approval from the parents. And if the parents disapprove, then perhaps the young couple is going to face a very difficult journey. They're going to lack the support of their immediate families, and that's hard. But it's even more complicated when it comes to the royal family because the monarch also becomes the head of the Church of England. So this means they have got to follow specific restrictions set down by the church. Over time, of course, these rules have also changed so that the church can remain relevant. And it's also important to remember that in some parts of the world, arranged marriages are still pretty normal. In the UK, of course, that's not so. It's not been that way for a long time. But when it comes to higher ranking classes, until quite recently, it was pretty typical for one to marry somebody who their parents chose because it was such a big deal to marry below one's rank. And the social pressures were a lot more intense. Well, this is the main content of today's news. Thank you for your interest and thank you for watching the whole video. If you have any suggestions or thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to support us with a like, share, and subscription to the channel. Goodbye for now, and I'll be back to see you again in other interesting videos on my YouTube channel.